The mind is both a prison and a key to freedom. It can chain you to fear, doubt, and suffering, or it can elevate you to peace, wisdom, and strength. In the teachings of Buddhism, the mind is everything. What you think, you become. If your thoughts are rooted in fear, you will live in fear. If they are grounded in self-doubt, your world will mirror that doubt. But if you train your mind to cultivate resilience, mindfulness, and peace, nothing in life can shake you. Imagine a warrior who walks into battle not with weapons, but with complete mastery over their mind. No insult can provoke them, no hardship can break them, and no failure can diminish their sense of self. They are unshakable, not because life does not test them, but because they have trained themselves to remain steady in the face of adversity. This is the power of an awakened mind, and it is within your reach. One of the fundamental truths of Buddhism is that suffering is inevitable, but how we experience it is within our control. Pain is a part of life, but suffering is a choice. It is not the events themselves that cause us pain, but our attachment to how we think things should be. A person loses their job and falls into despair, not because losing a job is inherently unbearable, but because they believe it should not have happened. Someone is betrayed by a friend and is consumed by resentment, not because betrayal is pleasant, but because they cannot let go of their expectation of loyalty. Buddha teaches us that attachment is the root of suffering. We cling to people, possessions, expectations, and even identities, believing that they define us. But when they change or slip away, as all things inevitably do, we feel lost, as if a piece of ourselves has been taken. This is the illusion of attachment. The truth is, nothing in this world is permanent. Everything is in a constant state of change. The more we resist this reality, the more we suffer. The more we accept it, the more we find peace. Detachment does not mean indifference. It does not mean that we stop caring about the people we love or the goals we strive for. It simply means we stop holding on so tightly. We learn to appreciate what we have without fearing its loss. We give our best effort to our work without attaching our self-worth to the outcome. We love fully without expecting others to complete us. This freedom from attachment allows us to live with an open heart, fully present in each moment. One of the greatest tools in developing an unshakable mind is mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present, observing thoughts, emotions, and experiences without being controlled by them. When you are mindful, you are no longer a prisoner of your past or a slave to your future. You are here now, fully aware. Buddha reminds us, the trouble is, you think you have time. But time is an illusion. The past is gone, the future has not arrived, and the only thing that is real is this moment. Imagine you are holding a cup of tea. If your mind is consumed with worries, you may drink the tea without truly tasting it. If you are lost in thoughts about the past, you may not even remember drinking it at all. But if you are fully present, you will notice the warmth of the cup, the aroma of the tea, the taste as it touches your tongue. This is mindfulness, experiencing life as it is rather than sleepwalking through it. Mindfulness is not just about meditation, it is about how we live. When you eat, eat with awareness. When you walk, feel the ground beneath your feet. When you listen to someone speak, truly listen without thinking of what you will say next. The more you cultivate mindfulness, the more you realize that most of your suffering comes from resisting the present moment. You are either longing for a past that no longer exists or worrying about a future that has not yet arrived, but peace is found only here, in the now. A crucial part of cultivating inner peace is learning to let go of expectations, of control, of the need for certainty. The mind craves control. It wants to predict, manipulate, and force outcomes. But life is unpredictable. No matter how carefully you plan, there will always be things beyond your control. A job lost, a relationship ended, an unexpected illness. These things shake us, not because they are unbearable, but because we resist them. We fight against reality, hoping it will change, but suffering comes from resistance. The moment you let go and accept life as it is, you begin to find peace. This is not the same as giving up. It is about understanding what is within your control and what is not. You can control your actions, your thoughts, and your responses, but you cannot control people, circumstances, or the flow of time. When you accept this truth, you free yourself from unnecessary suffering. You stop fighting battles that were never meant to be won. You learn to flow with life rather than against it. In Buddhism, the concept of impermanence reminds us that nothing lasts forever. Joy and sorrow, success and failure, pleasure and pain, all are temporary. When we cling to pleasure, fearing its loss, we create suffering. When we resist pain, hoping it will disappear, we prolong it. But when we accept the transient nature of life, we learn to appreciate the good while it lasts and endure the difficult with patience. Impermanence does not mean life is meaningless. It means life is precious. Knowing that everything is temporary allows us to fully embrace each moment. We no longer take people for granted. We no longer waste time on things that do not matter. We no longer postpone happiness, waiting for the perfect moment. We realize that the perfect moment is now. An unshakable mind is built through practice, through daily awareness, through conscious effort, through choosing peace over reaction. It is not about avoiding hardship, but about facing it with wisdom and strength. It is about realizing that no matter what happens, you have the power to remain steady. You are not a victim of life's unpredictability. You are the master of your own mind. And when you master your mind, you master your life. True power does not come from control over others, wealth, or status. It comes from mastering the one thing that dictates every aspect of your life: your mind. The way you think determines how you experience the world. A peaceful mind creates a peaceful life, while a chaotic mind creates suffering. The path to true freedom is not found in changing external circumstances, but in transforming the way you perceive and respond to them. Buddhism teaches that the mind is like water. When it is disturbed, it becomes cloudy, unable to reflect anything clearly. But when it is still, it mirrors reality without distortion. In the same way, a restless mind is consumed by fear, anger, and desire, making it impossible to see life as it truly is. But a calm mind, cultivated through awareness and discipline, allows us to move through life with clarity and wisdom. One of the greatest challenges in life is learning to detach from what we cannot control. Most suffering arises from the need to control people, situations, and outcomes. We want things to go our way. We want people to act as we expect. And we want life to follow a script we have written. But the truth is, life is unpredictable. It will not always give you what you want, and people will not always behave as you hope. If your peace depends on external circumstances, you will always be at the mercy of forces beyond your control. Instead of seeking control, seek acceptance. Accept that you cannot predict the future. Accept that change is inevitable. Accept that people will sometimes disappoint you. This does not mean you give up on your goals or allow others to mistreat you. It simply means that you do not allow external events to dictate your inner peace. Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without, the Buddha teaches. Think of the sky during a storm. The wind howls, the rain falls, and thunder shakes the ground. But above the storm, the sky remains unchanged, vast, untouched, at peace. Your mind should be like that sky. No matter what storms rage below, you must learn to rise above them, to observe rather than react, to maintain your inner calm despite external chaos. One of the most powerful ways to cultivate this resilience is through meditation. Meditation is not just about sitting in silence, it is about training the mind to remain steady. It is the practice of observing your thoughts without attachment, allowing them to come and go like waves in the ocean. Through meditation, you learn that you are not your thoughts. Just as you can watch the waves without becoming the ocean, you can watch your thoughts without becoming consumed by them. A simple meditation practice begins with breath. Find a quiet space, close your eyes, and focus on your breathing. Inhale deeply, exhale slowly. As thoughts arise, do not resist them. Acknowledge them, then gently return your focus to your breath. Over time, you will notice a change. The mind, once restless, will begin to settle. The worries that once controlled you will lose their grip. The more you practice, the more unshakable you become. Another key to inner peace is letting go of resentment. Carrying anger is like holding on to a burning coal. It only harms the one who refuses to release it. Buddhism teaches that forgiveness is not about excusing others. It is about freeing yourself. When you hold on to resentment, you allow past pain to control your present happiness. But when you choose to let go, you reclaim your power. This does not mean forgetting what happened or allowing someone to hurt you again. It simply means releasing the emotional burden. Imagine carrying a heavy stone everywhere you go. It drains your energy, slows you down, and makes everything harder. But the moment you decide to put it down, you feel lighter, freer. Forgiveness is that release. A powerful practice is to send compassion to those who have wronged you. This may seem difficult, even impossible at first. But remember, forgiveness is not for them, it is for you. Visualize the person who hurt you, and instead of wishing them harm, silently say, "May you find peace. May you be free from suffering." You are not condoning their actions, you are choosing to rise above them. The moment you stop wishing harm upon others, you break the cycle of negativity that keeps you tied to them. The same applies to self-forgiveness. Many people carry guilt and regret over past mistakes, believing they do not deserve happiness. But Buddhism teaches that we are all imperfect, all learning, all growing. Holding on to guilt does not change the past, it only keeps you trapped in it. Instead of punishing yourself, ask, "What can I learn from this?" Growth comes from learning, not from self-hatred. You are not the person you were yesterday. Every moment is an opportunity to begin again. Equally important is mastering the art of non-attachment. Non-attachment does not mean you stop caring about people or goals. It means you stop clinging to them. Most suffering comes from wanting things to be permanent when nothing in life is. Relationships change, jobs end, people move on. But if your happiness depends on things staying the same, you will always be afraid. Buddhism teaches that true happiness comes from embracing impermanence. Imagine holding sand in your hand. If you squeeze tightly, it slips through your fingers. But if you hold it gently, it remains. This is how we must approach life. Love deeply, but without the fear of loss. Work hard, but without being attached to success. Enjoy the present, but without trying to freeze time. When you learn to live this way, you experience life fully, without the constant fear of losing what you have. Another practice that cultivates an unshakable mind is gratitude. The mind naturally focuses on what is missing, what is wrong, what could be better. But gratitude shifts that focus to what is already present, what is right, what is enough. Each morning, take a moment to reflect on 3 things you are grateful for. They do not have to be extraordinary. Simple things like the warmth of the sun, the kindness of a friend, or the breath in your lungs. Gratitude rewires the brain. When you focus on abundance, you attract more of it. When you appreciate the small things, You realize that happiness is not found in some distant future. It is here, now, in the simple moments. The Buddha said, "Let us rise up and be thankful, for if we didn't learn a lot today, at least we learned a little. If we didn't learn a little, at least we didn't get sick. If we got sick, at least we didn't die. So, let us all be thankful." No matter your circumstances, there is always something to be grateful for. Life is uncertain. There will be days of joy and days of sorrow, moments of success and moments of failure. But the mind you cultivate determines how you experience them. A weak mind is shaken by every hardship. An untrained mind reacts without thinking. But a mind that has been strengthened through mindfulness, gratitude and detachment remains steady through all of life's changes. This is the essence of true power, not the ability to control everything around you, but the ability to remain calm, strong and free no matter what happens. You have the power to transform your mind, and when you transform your mind, you transform your life. The mind is like a garden. Whatever you plant will grow. If you nourish seeds of fear, anger and self-doubt, they will take root, spreading through your thoughts and shaping your reality. But if you cultivate patience, wisdom and inner peace, your mind will become a sanctuary, untouched by the chaos of the world. The power to decide what grows in your mind belongs to you alone. And when you take control of this inner landscape, you become unshakable. One of the greatest illusions of the mind is the belief that happiness is something to be found in the future, that once we achieve success, wealth or love, we will finally be at peace. But Buddhism teaches that true happiness is not something to be attained. It is something to be uncovered. It is not in some distant future, but in this very moment, waiting to be recognized. The suffering comes not from what we lack, but from the illusion that we need more in order to be complete. The mind is always chasing something. It tells us, "I'll be happy when I have more money. I'll be at peace when I find the right partner," or "I'll feel worthy when I achieve success." But when those things arrive, the mind simply replaces them with new conditions. Now I need even more money. Now I need to make sure my partner never leaves. Now I need to stay successful, or else I'll lose everything. The cycle never ends, because the mind is never satisfied. This is why many people achieve everything they thought they wanted and still feel empty inside. They realize too late that they were chasing an illusion. Buddhism teaches that peace is not something to be found externally. It is something to be created internally. The moment you stop postponing happiness and begin embracing the present, you break free from the mind's endless chase. One of the most powerful ways to train the mind to be at peace is through the practice of presence. The present moment is the only reality. The past is a memory. The future is imagination. And yet most people spend their lives lost in one or the other. They replay past regrets, worrying about what they could have done differently. Or they live in the future, consumed by thoughts of what might happen. But life is only ever happening now. When you bring your awareness fully into the present, suffering begins to fade. Anxiety is born from future uncertainty. Regret is born from past attachment. But in this moment, neither exist. Right now, in this very breath, you are safe, you are alive, you are enough. The more you anchor yourself in the present, the more you realize that peace has always been available to you. It was simply buried beneath layers of mental noise. A simple way to cultivate presence is to practice deep awareness of ordinary moments. When you eat, truly taste your food. When you walk, feel each step. When you speak with someone, listen with your full attention. The more you practice presence, the more you reclaim your life from the grasp of distraction. You begin to experience life fully rather than just rushing through it. But being present does not mean ignoring reality. It means engaging with it fully, without resistance. Buddhism teaches that much of our suffering comes not from the events of life, but from our refusal to accept them. We wish things were different, we fight against change, we hold on to what no longer exists. This resistance creates suffering. But when we accept life as it is, without attachment or expectation, we free ourselves from unnecessary pain. Acceptance does not mean passivity. It does not mean we stop striving for improvement. It simply means we stop wishing for things to be different than they are in this moment. When challenges arise, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" Instead of resisting change, welcome it as an opportunity for growth. The moment you stop fighting against reality, you discover a level of peace that no external force can take from you. Another key to inner peace is recognizing that thoughts are not facts. Most people assume that because a thought appears in their mind, it must be true. I'm not good enough. I'll never succeed. No one cares about me. But thoughts are not always reality. They are merely mental habits, patterns that have been repeated so often that they feel real. Buddhism teaches that the mind is like a monkey, constantly jumping from one thought to another, restless and chaotic. But just because the monkey is loud does not mean you have to listen to it. You can observe your thoughts without being controlled by them. When a negative thought arises, instead of believing it, simply ask, "Is this true? Or is this just a habit?" More often than not, you will realize that your thoughts are not facts. They are stories you've been telling yourself, and just as you can change a story, you can change your thoughts. One of the most powerful practices in Buddhism is observing thoughts without attachment. Imagine you are sitting by a river, watching leaves float downstream. Each leaf is a thought. Some are pleasant, some are painful, but they all pass. Most people, when a negative thought arises, grab onto it, hold it tightly, and replay it in their mind. But if you treat your thoughts like leaves on a river, watching them come and go without attachment, you free yourself from their control. When you learn to observe your thoughts rather than react to them, you become the master of your mind rather than its servant. You gain the ability to choose which thoughts you entertain and which you let pass. This is the essence of mental freedom. Another practice that strengthens the mind is detachment from external validation. Many people base their happiness on how others perceive them. If they are praised, they feel good. If they are criticized, they feel worthless. But this makes happiness fragile, dependent on forces beyond our control. Buddhism teaches that true peace comes from within, not from external approval. The next time you feel hurt by someone's words, ask yourself, does this truly define me, or is this just their opinion? The truth is, no one's words have power over you unless you allow them to. The moment you stop seeking validation from others is the moment you find freedom. Your worth is not determined by praise or criticism. It is determined by your own belief in yourself. An unshakable mind is not one that never experiences difficulty. It is one that remains steady despite difficulty. It is a mind that does not chase happiness because it realizes happiness is already present. It is a mind that does not fear change because it understands that everything is temporary. It is a mind that does not depend on others for self-worth because it knows its own value. Every day you have a choice. You can continue to let the mind control you, or you can take control of it. You can continue to live in fear and doubt, or you can train your mind to rise above it. This is not something that happens overnight. But with practice, with patience, and with awareness, you will discover a power within you that nothing in this world can shake. The mind, when untrained, is your greatest enemy. But when mastered, it is your greatest ally. The question is, are you ready to take control? The strongest person in the world is not the one who lifts the heaviest weight, wins the most battles, or dominates others. It is the one who has full control over their mind. A person who can face adversity without crumbling, who can embrace change without fear, and who can find peace even in chaos. This is the mark of true strength. And the greatest battle you will ever fight is not against the outside world, but against the distractions, fears, and illusions created by your own mind. Buddhism teaches that true freedom is not about escaping challenges, but learning how to navigate them with wisdom and clarity. Life will never be free of difficulties, but suffering is optional. What keeps most people trapped in cycles of stress and unhappiness is not their circumstances, but their resistance to those circumstances. The mind creates suffering when it refuses to accept reality as it is. But when we stop resisting, when we let go of attachment to how we think things should be, suffering dissolves. Take a moment and reflect. How much of your suffering comes from your expectations? How often do you feel disappointed? Not because of what actually happened, but because it did not align with your idea of how things were supposed to go. You expected someone to treat you a certain way, but they didn't. You expected a situation to unfold in a specific way, but it changed. You expected life to be easy, but it wasn't. The greater the gap between expectation and reality, the greater the suffering. This is why one of the most powerful teachings in Buddhism is the practice of non-attachment. Non-attachment does not mean not caring. It means caring deeply while understanding that nothing is permanent. It means loving without possession, striving without desperation, and living without fear of loss. When you embrace this truth, you free yourself from unnecessary pain. Imagine holding a handful of sand. If you squeeze too tightly, trying to hold on to it, the sand slips through your fingers. But if you hold it with an open hand, it remains. This is how we must approach life. If you cling to people, possessions, or outcomes with desperation, you create suffering. But if you learn to experience them fully while knowing they are temporary, you find peace. This does not mean that you do not pursue success or relationships. It simply means you do not attach your entire identity to them. You work hard, you love deeply, you give your best effort, but you remain unattached to the outcome. If something is meant for you, it will stay. If it is not, it will leave, and you will still be whole. A person with an unshakable mind understands that everything in life is impermanent. Good times and bad times, success and failure, pleasure and pain, they all pass. The storm does not last forever, and neither does the sunshine. Instead of clinging to one and fearing the other, they embrace the flow of life, moving with it instead of against it. Another key to developing this strength of mind is learning to quiet the inner noise. The average person has thousands of thoughts per day, many of them negative, repetitive, or completely unnecessary. The mind jumps from worry to worry, fear to fear, problem to problem, rarely resting. But just as a wild horse can be tamed, the mind can be trained. One of the simplest yet most profound Buddhist teachings is this: do not believe everything you think. Thoughts are not facts, they are habits. Most of the fears and insecurities that arise in your mind are not based on reality, but on conditioning. You think you are not good enough because someone made you feel that way in the past. You think you will fail because you failed once before. But these thoughts are not truths. They are just patterns. To break these patterns, you must become an observer of your mind. Instead of reacting to every negative thought, simply notice it. Ah, here is fear. Here is doubt. Here is anger. By labeling your thoughts instead of being consumed by them, You create distance between yourself and them. You realize that just because a thought appears does not mean it is real, and just because a thought is loud does not mean it is true. Meditation is one of the most powerful tools for mastering the mind. Meditation does not mean stopping all thoughts. It means watching them without getting caught in them. It is like standing on the side of a busy road. Cars, thoughts, are constantly passing by. Some are fast, some are slow, some are aggressive. But instead of jumping into traffic and trying to control the cars, you simply watch them go by. The more you practice meditation, the more you develop inner stillness. The mind, which was once restless and chaotic, begins to settle. And in that stillness, you discover something incredible, the part of you that is beyond thought, the awareness that exists before fear, before doubt, before judgment. This is your true self, untouched by the turbulence of the world. Another way to cultivate inner strength is through discipline. Many people think of discipline as something restrictive, but in reality, discipline is freedom. A person without discipline is a slave to their emotions, impulses, and habits. They react to life instead of consciously shaping it. But a person with discipline has the ability to choose their responses, to act instead of react, to stay focused on what truly matters. Discipline is what allows you to wake up early and meditate when your mind tells you to sleep in. It is what helps you remain calm in an argument instead of lashing out. It is what keeps you committed to your goals even when you don't feel motivated. The Buddha said, "A jug fills drop by drop." Small daily actions lead to great transformation. You do not need to make drastic changes overnight. Simply commit to one mindful habit at a time. Another powerful practice in Buddhism is self-reflection. Many people go through life without truly understanding themselves. They react to emotions without questioning where they come from. They repeat the same mistakes without understanding why. But the path to mastery begins with self-awareness. Each day, take a few moments to reflect. Ask yourself, what emotions controlled me today? What fears held me back? What thoughts kept repeating in my mind? When you bring awareness to these patterns, you weaken their control over you. The more you understand your own mind, the more power you have over it. And finally, the foundation of an unshakable mind is compassion. True strength is not about being cold or detached. It is about being deeply compassionate while remaining unaffected by negativity. A person who is truly strong does not need to prove anything. They do not seek revenge, they do not hold on to grudges, and they do not let the opinions of others disturb their peace. Compassion does not mean tolerating mistreatment. It means understanding that people act from their own pain. It means choosing peace over revenge, wisdom over reaction, and kindness over ego. When someone insults you, instead of taking it personally, you recognize that their words are a reflection of their own struggles, not your worth. A truly strong person does not need to win arguments or dominate others. They know that real power is not in control, it is in understanding. It is in remaining peaceful in the face of anger, kind in the face of cruelty, and wise in the face of ignorance. An unshakable mind is a gift you give yourself. It is the armor that protects you from suffering, the light that guides you through darkness, and the key that unlocks true freedom. And when you master your mind, nothing, no person, no failure, no circumstance can ever break you. An unshakable mind is not a mind free from challenges or pain. It's a mind that knows how to face them with courage and clarity. The true test of inner strength is not how you perform when life is easy, but how you respond when life becomes difficult. In the darkest moments, when everything around you seems uncertain and chaotic, your mind can be your greatest ally or your worst enemy. And that choice is always yours. Buddhism teaches that life is a cycle of highs and lows, success and failure, joy and sorrow. This is the nature of existence. Trying to avoid pain entirely is futile. Instead, the path to peace lies in accepting the reality of change and impermanence. When you understand that nothing is permanent, neither pain nor pleasure, you learn to hold on lightly to the good moments and endure the hard ones with grace. This realization frees you from the constant fear of loss and disappointment. Consider a tree in the middle of a storm. Its branches may bend and sway violently in the wind, but its roots remain firmly anchored in the ground. This is how you must be. When life's storms come, you may feel shaken, but your mind, grounded in wisdom and mindfulness, will keep you steady. You will weather the storm without being uprooted.